Hello, happy Friday to everybody. Welcome to episode 12 of the Foxhole Feed. Lots of interesting news to go over today. Lots of news on Soma, some news on Scalebound, some news on Fallout 4, and a whole other mess of news going on today. Now, some very interesting news and good news for the developers at Fractional Games who created Soma. If you don't know Fractional Games, they worked on the horror game Amnesia, and there was something else that they might have worked on that I'm forgetting the name of. But they worked on Amnesia series, and which did really good for them. And now they're working on Soma, which is already released, and I didn't even know that they've been working on this for this long. They've been working on this title for over 5 years. This article comes courtesy of IGN, and they state that they're okay with the sales figures that they've had thus far. In the last 10 days after its release, Soma has done or sold over 100,000 copies, which is actually pretty good for a independent team. Now, they've been working on this title for 5 years, and they state for them to actually be able to cover the cost of everything, they would have to almost sell 3 times that amount, which is pretty good. They state that given that it took them 5 years to make the project, there is no immediate stress to do so. So they feel that they're able to get that done. And I feel that realistically, they should be able to get those sales done. Now, I myself might actually stream this game. I might play it. I liked Amnesia, and I never streamed that game, but I probably really like this next one too. Now, they state that they felt that they might have announced it too early. They announced this game in 2013, so they feel that they maybe could have announced it much shorter, and they didn't probably, if they announced it last year, they felt that they would have been able to keep up with, I guess, announcing stuff closer to release, or keep up with excitement, as they state. They said that they initially wanted to show content all the way up to release, and they felt that it was much harder to do than they initially thought. So, good for them. Now, for all you Star Wars fans that are looking forward to the Battlefront Beta, that should be coming out in like 6 days. As of this morning, 6 days should be coming out. They state the install sizes for the actual beta. It's actually pretty high. For the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, it's going to be about 7 gigs. For the PC version, it's going to be about 11 gigs. Which is actually, fair. It's not that bad. But there's not going to be, from what I'm reading, any pre-download, so you're not able to pre-download anything. You just have to have the next 6 days just download it like everybody else does at the same time. I don't know how their servers are going to fare about that since there's no pre-download, but yeah, we'll be alright. We'll live. More interesting Scalebound news releases. As Hideki Kamiya reveals that Scalebound was originally being developed for the Wii. Now, on the last episode, on episode 11, I talked about, like a couple days ago, I talked about how when he worked on this game previously, it was like in some sort of concept phase when it was first shown to Microsoft, when they made a decision to put it on that platform. So he was working on this for quite a while. I didn't know that this game actually existed elsewhere. I knew it existed before Next Generation, meaning it was like in some form of existence before it was ever shown to Microsoft. Apparently it was being made for the Wii, and it wasn't supposed to be a dragon. It was supposed to be just a regular dinosaur. Now, they stated that after they made the beta, they made Bayonetta, they started a prototype, and one of the things that they changed from when it was early being developed in like 2006 on the Wii, one of the things that they changed was they stopped it from being a dinosaur game to it being a dragon game. After Bayonetta was done, they changed that concept. It's kind of interesting, and he also states he's also tweeting stuff talking about that he's going to keep some of this info coming, I guess because Microsoft is not letting him state official information regarding the game, so he's just sort of telling us these like early tidbits. It's sort of cool to hear that this game is this old in terms of concept. I always assumed that this was just a brand new thing for them, but apparently this has been cooking for quite a while. Now, some very funny Fallout 4 news. One of the lead designers, who's from Boston, who's one of the writers in Fallout 4, his house is basically in Fallout 4. It's somewhere in the game, but it's destroyed apparently. But you could find it through the rubble in the actual game, which I think is kind of funny. Now, the next two videos that I'm going to link to you guys are going to show a panel at E3 of all the developers, who are the key people, the director, Todd Howard, and the writer of the game, and, you know, two of the other development staff, talking about, you know, the decisions that went into making the game. And one of the things they're talking about is even like the jumpsuits regarding like the exact color and a whole bunch of other funny things. But they go in to talk about their lives, about working on the title, about people questioning, you know, if they play games all day. And one of the developers, or the writer, states that, you know, they don't play games all day. They make games all day, but they don't play them all day. Todd Howard states that only around the tail ending of a development of a game are they actually physically playing it to find, you know, inaccuracies or to find things that are wrong with the title. And he states that he'll find new stuff in there because though they collectively know everything that's inside of the game, not one person is just going to know every single last thing that went into it, you know, in terms of a single member of that team. So Todd Howard would find things that someone designed, and, you know, he might, you know, play it and question who made this, which, as he states during this panel. So very interesting news to our Fallout fans. In other Fallout news, Bethesda releases another video in their Fallout 4 special video series titled Charisma. Exactly like what it sounds like. It's essentially a video detailing the Charisma perk in Fallout 4. Now, it shows the video of the Vault Boy, like the Fallout Boy mascot, or the Fallout mascot, essentially walking into a bar, and he's like, you know, trying to make friends with questionable looking characters, and it's showing him like trying to befriend people. But basically what they're detailing is that with the charisma perk, you could befriend people, you could barter better in terms of trade, but if you have low charisma, you can't. And it shows like a cartoon character getting, like, it shows like this cartoon character girl like stabbing out like Vault Boy's like eye because of that a bad trade or something. But it works the same way. It looks like it worked in Fallout 3 and the previous Fallout games, where it's like having the basically charisma skills to charm people and to get your way out of certain situations, like the situation in Tenpenny Towers, where you had to essentially you had to be able to barter your way out of it in terms of, or you had to use charisma, to get out of it by trying to persuade the guy to you know, keep the towers open. And then you had to, you know, but I didn't remember even choosing to do that. I think I ended up killing him eventually. But you could use those social skills in like several different like areas in Fallout, which I love. But the series lends to that greatly in terms of having that as one of your main perks, in terms of being able to talk your way out of certain situations or get better prices. I used it more so to get better prices, I think, than to do anything else in terms of social stuff. Most of the time I tried to kill my way through Fallout 3 anyway. In other news, Squaresoft goes back on their word on a pre-order scheme that they tried to do with Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Now, if you guys hadn't heard about the Deus Ex Mankind Divided like whole pre-order situation that went on with it, apparently if you pre-ordered Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which comes out February 23rd, if you pre-ordered this game, you got specific things, but through some sort of tier. Now, the tiers, in terms of the rewards, happened as people continued to pre-order the game. So there's like a tier, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And basically, as more people would pre-order the game, the more tiers would, you know, unlock. And after all the tiers were, you know, successfully unlocked, you would choose one of these, like, prizes or one of these rewards that would come up for. One of the end game rewards is to get the game 4 day early to release. Now, a lot of people had, you know, huge problems with this. I don't know how much of a problem I had with it. Like, after I read it the first time, I wasn't really that, I wasn't that mad about it. I can't say that I was like pissed off or upset. I rarely pre-order. I pre-order titles, but it's like I rarely pre-order out of the blue. Most times it's a big name title. It's like, Metal Gear or Final Fantasy or, Gran Turismo. Most of the times it's a pretty big title for me to pre-order, put my money down, day one. Even if I were to had pre-ordered this game, I don't know how much I would care about the extras that they're providing. I still have games now like Infamous and Killzone and all these other games were on release or on pre-order. They had like special stuff that you could get for it, like costumes and all these other things, and I never used any of them. I never put in any of the codes. I don't know. I just sometimes you're pre-ordering a game because you just want to have it day one. Other times, you might be pre-ordering it because of like financial reasons. Like, let's say if I know, I'm not going to have money this month after that or something, I might just pay the whole thing off and not worry about it when the month comes up. Have a little nice surprise if I forget it's coming out. But most of the time, I don't know if I'm going out seeking a pre-order to get something extra. Most of the time, I'm going to buy this game regardless. I don't know of any time that I've ever bought a game at a different time or earlier than I was ever going to because to get something in a pre-order. I don't really know if I've ever done that before. I don't really think so. But apparently Square's going back on their word on this, and this pre-order is no longer going to happen this way. Now the entire tier list, with the exception of, I believe, the 4-day early release, is going to come out for the game. So basically, if you pre-order it, all the stuff that they are saying that you're going to get, you're basically now going to get regardless of the tier or how much people pre-order and how much they don't. Now the people who are in charge of their marketing, they state that they did it to sort of make it sound like they did it to sort of market it as it was going to be like the users, voicing, and coming together to seek to get to a main goal. And what's so ironic about this is it doesn't sound like it's the users voicing to get to something, because the users, in this ironic case, voiced against the concept of what they're doing with this DLC approach, or this pre-order initiative, and instead got them to recant what they were going to do before and change it back. So it's like, they voiced, they banded together and voiced what they wanted, all right, but it was not really for the pre-order, it was against it. And it's strange because that comparison to what they state of what they wanted is funny. That, they sort of got that, but it was against the company itself. So Square is no longer doing it, and the fans have voiced their concerns and it do it. It's funny, but for all we know, how do we know that Square was doing this on purpose, just to come back and be like, "Oh man, Mankind won. Oh man, look, it's not really divided, guys. You guys band together, and we changed our minds because you band together." I don't think they would do some stupid ass troll marketing like that. For all we know, Square really did want this whole pre-order tier list thing to go fine, or their marketing dudes probably really wanted it to go fine. For all we know, they probably really did. But I think it's sort of funny that they held it hostage for people to pre-order it, and sort of this big Kickstarter pre-order it, and let's all band together and reach a stretch goal tier list thingy majigger. I think that's kind of weird. But it's coming out February 23rd. It's no longer has that pre-order thing, so you'll be fine to pick it up. Everybody's going to be getting the same thing on release day. You don't got to worry about, everybody not pre-ordering enough for you to get your shit. Everybody's getting the same thing day one. In other industry news, Activision, recently released Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5, really recently, and they're apparently stating that they're aware of the issues that are current in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5. So basically, they understand that the issue exists, and there's going to be an update to actually fix the game immediately, to fix whatever the current issues are. Now, my problem with this is, like, this released earlier this week, and it's like, how did this release like this early and you guys already, have something ready to fix these problems that already exist? Like, something tells me like you had already been prepared of this, versus like, okay, someone, addressed it and then they're like, okay, let's fix it right now. I feel like we know the certification process takes quite a while for a game before it releases, where, Sony and Microsoft and wherever else this game is going, they basically have to, get it working or make sure that it can work, and they have their whole processes on what they, look for. And this process, to my understanding, takes a while. It takes weeks for this process to finish out. And something tells me that during this period in time of these weeks, that the team is looking for these issues and fixing them as they come up. I think they're aware that the game is launching in this state. Now, Activision is taking some heat for this, and not too long ago, about a year ago, Ubisoft took similar heat when they released Unity this way, and Unity was like literally, to some people's games, are completely broken, and they're aware of the understanding that this game had these issues. Now, I know all games don't release perfect, and I was actually a pretty big defender of the concept of, all games are not going to release perfect. Any game that ever releases is going to have some sort of patch to fix whatever is, because of how games are in terms of design wise. There's always going to be something Team Fortress 2 is still getting patched, for God's sakes. There's always something to balance and fix with any game. It doesn't really matter. There's always going to be something to fix, balance, that can be done differently over time. Now, this game getting this patch like this soon, and the size of the patch is actually rather substantial. The patch is actually 7 gigs, and from what I'm reading is that it's actually larger than the actual game it shipped with, in terms of like the how large the game was. So it's launching with problems. It's like this game is it's a big deal to Activision, because it's a reboot of what used to be a multi-million-dollar, if not, I don't know if it was in the billions, like, Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed, but it could have been. But, and I might have looked that up, it might even be that. But this game is a big reboot for them, for bringing the series back and trying to reinvent it and trying to make it new again and trying to fix those things. How could you launch it this way, knowing that this is how important this series is? They might have ruined their chances to really get that audience back on their side, and I believe they did so when they first even launched the first trailer of this game. The first thing I was hearing from people is that it looks like a PlayStation 2 game. Now, I personally don't feel it looks like a PlayStation 2 game, but I do feel it looks like a terrible looking game. It just looks bad. And I'm not saying that any of the Tony Hawk games are just absolutely, graphically amazing, impressive games, but they weren't to this level. Even when you look at Tony Hawk Underground, or you look at Tony Hawk's, I think it was called Project 8 on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Even when you look at that title, graphically, it's not like that title was just completely ugly compared to everything else. This title on last gen platforms is ugly. This title on current gen platforms now is very ugly. And I don't think it helps the team in trying to bring back this excitement of a game that looks dated from the look. So I think they're off to a terrible start, and I think Tony Hawk 5 may have just kind of killed itself. I think this team might have just killed whatever this game is. I feel that, in my opinion, if you launch a game and it's terrible, and it has bugs, and it needs to get updated, needs to get fixed. Sony and Microsoft already charged them lots of money for them to essentially patch these games. I think it's like $10,000 or some shit like that. I would say go even further and make it something much more substantial in terms of a fine, to say that if the game is not working right, then you have to have some sort of penalty for it not working correctly, or some sort of fine if it's not working correctly. I just feel like you deserve a working product. I'm okay with some bugs here and there, but not like a week during the week of its release. You guys are releasing something, you understand something's wrong. If you knew something with the week of release, something's telling me you guys had known this before it was released, which is quite unfortunate. So I'm very much not looking forward to this game. I loved the series before, but I don't know if they could ever rejuvenate the series. I believe that a greater push possibly could add, and it's not even to say that I would never play a Tony Hawk game again. It's just how they present it. You give me a Tony Hawk game where I could jump off the skateboard like you can in Thug, and then have a graphical style that could keep up with everything else that's out, like the last ones did. Now, the last ones weren't the best looking games ever, but they were still comparable to games that were being released in that same period in time. This game looks like it's completely out of its element. So if they bring back that vibe, that craziness, and they bring in a team that gives a fuck about really, bringing that series back, then I'll care. But not like this. They're treating this game like it's lesser, and you treat it like it's lesser, expect lesser sales. It's just what it is. Now it's getting late. It's like 5 in the morning. We got to get this launched out, edited, and ready to go, and this is what it is. Like always, like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you guys want to hear. Stay tuned for the podcast later today. Me and Craig are going to be whipping it up, talking about some crazy game things on our podcast. So you guys look out for that. Stay tuned for our episode that's going to be coming, episode 13 on Monday. And that's game.
Caution, rain approaching.
Boss, I have an urgent report from the intel team. The target has almost made it to Gaziba camp.